October 17th, 2024. At exactly 6:42 p.m., the Ashland Police Department received what would later become the most important phone call in the history of the case. It lasted only 19 seconds. The caller never identified himself. There was no panic in his voice, no heavy breathing, no background noise, only one calm sentence. "When you find the boy, don't ask who he is." A brief pause followed. "Ask why he is always there." Then the line disconnected. Police traced the call to a payphone nearly 40 miles outside the city. By the time officers arrived, the receiver was still swinging. No witnesses, no fingerprints, nothing. At the time, Dispatch classified it as another anonymous prank. The recording was archived and forgotten for exactly 31 hours. On the evening of October 18th, everything changed. At 1:14 a.m., a passing truck driver noticed the front door of a farmhouse standing wide open along Cedar Ridge Road. Every light inside the house was on. The television was playing. A family car remained parked outside. But something felt wrong. The driver later told investigators he couldn't explain why he stopped. "The house looked normal," he said, "but it didn't feel lived in anymore." He called 911. Officer Daniel Brooks arrived 12 minutes later. The farmhouse belonged to the Harper family. Michael Harper, his wife, Emily, their 11-year-old daughter, Lily, and their golden retriever, Cooper. Neighbors described them as painfully ordinary. No financial problems, no criminal history, no domestic violence reports. Nothing that would ever place them on a detective's radar. Until that night, the front door showed no signs of forced entry. Nothing appeared stolen. Inside, dinner remained untouched on the dining table. 3 plates, 3 glasses, food still warm. A pan of pasta sat on the stove with the burner switched off. It looked as though the family had stood up in the middle of dinner and never returned. Officer Brooks searched every room. Bedrooms, bathrooms, garage, attic, nothing. Then he reached Michael Harper's home office. The desk lamp was still on. An unfinished email remained open on the computer. It had never been sent. Only one sentence had been typed. "I finally know why he's in every picture." There was no signature, no recipient, nothing else. Brooks immediately called for detectives. Crime scene investigators arrived shortly after sunrise. Every room was photographed, every fingerprint collected, every inch of the property searched. No bodies, no signs of a struggle. Only one small detail seemed out of place. A family portrait hanging in the hallway. The Harpers stood smiling in front of Crater Lake during a summer vacation. Michael, Emily, Lily, and someone else. A boy. He stood far behind the family near the tree line, almost impossible to notice. Around 13 years old, dark hooded sweatshirt, hands in his pockets, looking directly toward the camera. At first, detectives assumed he was another tourist, until they enlarged the image. The boy wasn't looking at the family. He wasn't looking at the lake. He wasn't even looking at the photographer. He was looking directly at Michael Harper. Detective Nathan Carter was assigned the case later that afternoon. 23 years in major crimes had taught him one simple rule: the smallest detail usually survives the longest. Instead of examining the empty house first, he studied the photograph. He enlarged it again and again. The quality slowly deteriorated. Yet one detail remained perfectly clear: the boy's face. No matter how much the image was enlarged, his expression never blurred. It almost looked sharper. That shouldn't have been possible. Photographic experts later confirmed something even stranger. The camera that captured the family portrait focused on the Harper family. The boy stood nearly 70 yards behind them. Under normal conditions, he should have appeared soft and out of focus. Instead, he was the sharpest object in the entire photograph. Carter quietly placed a picture on his desk. For the first time, he wasn't thinking about the missing family. He was thinking about the unfinished email. "I finally know why he's in every picture." Michael Harper hadn't written who he was. He had written why. Detective Carter had investigated enough murders to recognize the difference. Who could be guessed? Why was always the dangerous question. He didn't know it yet, but before the investigation ended, that single word would destroy every theory the police believed about the case. By 8 o'clock the following morning, the Harper farmhouse had become the center of the largest investigation Ashland had seen in more than 20 years. Television crews lined the gravel road. Crime scene vans filled the driveway. Federal agents quietly arrived before local reporters even realized the FBI had been requested. Officially, the case remained a missing family investigation. Unofficially, no one inside the command center believed the Harpers had simply disappeared. Detective Nathan Carter ignored the growing crowd outside. He locked himself inside the evidence room with only 3 items: the unfinished email, the family photograph, and the emergency call recorded 31 hours before the Harpers vanished. He listened to the recording again. When you find the boy, don't ask who he is. Ask why he is always there. The caller never sounded frightened. He sounded certain, almost as if he already knew how the investigation would unfold. Carter replayed the message 5 more times. Every pause, every breath, every word. Nothing until the audio technician adjusted the background frequencies. A faint sound appeared beneath the caller's voice. 3 slow beeps, exactly 1 second apart. The technician immediately recognized them. Their camera autofocus signals. The room became silent. The anonymous caller hadn't been standing alone. Someone had been taking a photograph while he spoke. While forensic teams continued searching the Harper property, Detective Carter focused on Michael Harper's computer. The unfinished email contained no fingerprints except Michael's. No malware, no signs of hacking. Nothing unusual, until digital analyst Lorichin recovered the deleted browsing history. Michael hadn't been searching for missing persons. He hadn't been researching murders. For nearly 3 months, he had searched only one thing: old crime scene photographs. Thousands of them. Police archives, newspaper databases, university collections, even forgotten local news websites dating back to the late 1980s. Every search contained the same phrase: original crime scene images. Laura quietly looked toward Carter. He wasn't interested in the victims. He was looking for someone. Hours later, investigators finally learned where Michael's obsession had begun. Inside his office desk, hidden beneath tax documents, officers discovered a small notebook. Every page contained dates, locations, case numbers, and one repeated sentence: "He's there again." The first entry had been written almost 4 years earlier. Michael had attended the funeral of an old college friend who had been murdered during a home invasion. While looking through newspaper coverage after the funeral, he noticed a teenage boy standing behind the detectives. At first, he thought nothing of it, until 6 months later. Another murder, another newspaper, the same boy, then another, and another. Michael spent 4 years collecting photographs no one else cared about. Not because he believed in conspiracy theories, because every time he found the boy, police failed to notice him. Late that evening, Laura completed facial comparison analysis. 29 photographs, 29 different years. The software compared millions of facial points. Normally, photographs taken decades apart produce noticeable differences: wrinkles, bone structure, hairline, muscle tone. This comparison produced something forensic analysts had never seen before: 99.98% identical. The report should have been impossible. If the photographs were authentic, the boy had not visibly aged in nearly 3 decades. No scientist inside the laboratory believed that conclusion, which left only one alternative. Someone had created an illusion so perfect that every investigator in America had accepted it as reality. At 7:12 p.m., Carter received permission to reopen the oldest case connected to Michael's notebook, a double homicide, Bend, Oregon. The original evidence had been stored in a state archive outside Salem. Most of the physical evidence had long since deteriorated. Only photographs remained, boxes of them, thousands. Carter spent nearly 6 hours examining every frame. Nothing until photograph number 184. The crime scene itself wasn't important. What mattered stood outside the police tape. The same teenage boy, dark hoodie, hands in his pockets, watching the investigators. But unlike every other photograph, this one had captured something no one noticed in 1991. The boy wasn't alone. Standing beside him was another child, a little girl, perhaps 8 years old. She faced away from the camera, long blonde hair, blue raincoat, holding the boy's hand. Every later photograph showed only the boy. The little girl never appeared again. Carter immediately circled her image. For the first time, the investigation wasn't searching for one unidentified child. It was searching for two. Then the lab called. Laura's voice sounded different, more nervous than usual. "Nathan, you need to come back." "What happened?" We enhanced the little girl's reflection in a store window. A long silence followed. "What did you find?" Laura took a slow breath. "You were wrong." Carter frowned. "About what?" The boy wasn't looking at the crime scene. Another pause. He was looking at her. Detective Nathan Carter arrived at the forensic laboratory less than 20 minutes later. No one spoke as he entered. Laura Chin stood beside the projection screen, waiting. She enlarged photograph 184 once again. The image had been digitally restored from the original film negative. Every grain, every shadow, every reflection had been reconstructed using the highest forensic standard available. Laura pointed toward the storefront window behind the children. "Watch carefully." The software slowly increased the resolution. The reflection sharpened. At first, Carter saw nothing unusual. Then, he noticed the angle. The boy wasn't watching the detectives. He wasn't watching the victim's house. His eyes were fixed on the little girl standing beside him, almost as if he was waiting for her to react. Laura switched to another photograph, then another, and another. 5 completely different crime scenes, 5 different years. Every time another child appeared anywhere near the scene, the boy looked at the child. Never at the police, never at the victims, always at the child. Carter leaned back. "What if the crime scenes aren't a connection?" Laura looked toward him. "What do you mean? What if the children are?" The room became silent. For the first time, the investigation changed direction. Instead of tracking murders, they began tracking every child visible in the background of photographs. The process took almost 48 hours. More than 600 archived photographs were examined. Most children were identified within minutes. Neighbors, family members, curious onlookers. Nothing unusual, except for 7. 7 children appeared briefly near 7 different crime scenes. None were listed in police reports. None had been interviewed. None could be identified. They appeared once, then vanished from every official record. Laura placed their photographs side by side. 6 boys, 1 girl, different ages, different cities, different years. No obvious connection, except one. Every one of them had disappeared within 12 months of the photograph being taken. Carter stared at the board. This can't be coincidence. The FBI reopened all 7 missing person investigations. Boxes that hadn't been touched for decades were brought out of storage. Dust covered the folders. Most contained only a few witness statements and faded photographs. The disappearances had received little attention. Runaways, possible kidnappings, cold cases, eventually forgotten. Until now, Rebecca Hayes noticed something disturbing. Every investigation had ended for the same reason. No evidence, no fingerprints, no ransom demands, no confirmed sightings. The children simply stopped existing. Late that evening, Carter visited Michael Harper's office one final time. He believed the missing father had left something behind, not because he expected another clue, because Michael had known he was running out of time. People who discover dangerous truths rarely stop taking notes. They hide them. After nearly an hour of searching, Carter found a loose floorboard beneath the desk. Inside rested a small metal box. No money, no jewelry, only an old disposable camera. The film had never been developed. Technicians rushed it to the state laboratory. 24 photographs emerged. The first 23 showed ordinary places: parking lots, schools, parks, bus stations. Nothing unusual. The final photograph froze the entire laboratory. It showed the mysterious boy, closer than ever before. No police tape, no crime scene, no victims, just a boy standing alone in an empty playground, looking directly into Michael Harper's camera. On the back of the photograph, Michael had written 6 words in black ink. "He knows when I see him." Digital analysts estimated the picture had been taken only 9 days before the Harper family disappeared. It was the only known photograph where the boy had been intentionally photographed. Every previous image had captured him accidentally. This time, someone had chosen to photograph him. Laura enlarged the image. Behind the playground stood a public library. Its address remained visible. Carter immediately recognized it. The library was only 3 miles from the Harper farmhouse. The investigative team arrived before sunrise. Security footage had already been overwritten. No useful witnesses came forward. But the librarian remembered Michael Harper. He came here almost every day. What was he researching? She hesitated. Old newspapers. Anything specific? She nodded. He wasn't looking for murder stories. He was looking for school photographs. Carter frowned. School photographs? The librarian walked toward the archive room. She returned carrying a yearbook from 1998. This is the last thing he'd borrowed. Carter opened the book. Every page looked ordinary. Class portraits, teachers, sports teams, nothing, until he reached page 37. One photograph had been carefully cut out. Only an empty rectangle remained. Below it, a printed name was still visible. Noah Ellison. No photograph, just a name. Carter quietly repeated it. Noah Ellison. The librarian looked confused. That's strange. What is... I knew Noah. She paused. He was never enrolled here. Carter slowly closed the yearbook. If Noah Ellison had never attended the school, why did his name appear in the class photograph? And more importantly, who had removed his face? By Monday morning, the name Noah Ellison had become the center of the investigation. The problem wasn't finding information about him. The problem was that every official record contradicted the next. The Oregon Department of Education had no enrollment history under that name. The county health office had no birth certificate. The Social Security Administration found no matching record. Yet the 1998 yearbook clearly listed Noah Ellison beneath an empty space where a photograph had been carefully removed. Someone had erased the face, but forgotten the name. Detective Nathan Carter requested the original printing files from the company that produced the yearbook. The files had been stored on magnetic backup tapes inside an archive warehouse outside Portland. 2 technicians spent nearly 6 hours restoring the data. When the recovered class photograph finally appeared on the monitor, everyone in the room leaned forward. There he was, the same boy, dark hair, pale face, hands folded in front of him, no smile, exactly the same face that had appeared behind police tape for more than 3 decades. But something immediately felt different. This wasn't a random appearance behind a crime scene. This was an official school photograph. A photograph taken months before any known investigation connected to him. Laura enlarged the image. Every student looked directly toward the photographer, except Noah. He wasn't looking at the camera. He was looking toward the classroom door, as though he expected someone to walk inside. The school building had closed 12 years earlier. Most classrooms remained untouched. Old lockers still lined hallways. Children's artwork continued fading beneath layers of dust. Principal records had been transferred to county storage after the school shut down. Carter and Rebecca spent the afternoon searching through attendance books. Every student listed in the yearbook appeared in the attendance records. Every student, except Noah Ellison. His name existed only once, on the printed yearbook page. No attendance, no grades, no emergency contacts, nothing. It was as though someone had inserted his name at the very last moment. Late that evening, retired teacher Margaret Sullivan agreed to meet investigators. She had taught 5th grade for 28 years. The moment Carter placed a restored class photograph on the table, she became unusually quiet. Her eyes remained fixed on Noah's face. "I remember him," she whispered. Rebecca leaned forward. "Can you tell us about him?" Margaret nodded slowly. He arrived in October. No transfer records. No parents. The superintendent told us everything had already been approved. How long did he attend? She looked away. I honestly don't know. Carter frowned. What do you mean? I remember teaching him. I remember speaking to him. I even remember grading his homework. She paused. But I don't remember him leaving. The room fell silent. I've gone over those memories hundreds of times. I remember the beginning. I remember the middle, but it's like someone removed the ending. Margaret reached into her purse and unfolded an old newspaper clipping she had carried for years. I kept this because it never made sense. The clipping described a school field trip taken in November 1998. 26 students had participated. The accompanying photograph showed every child standing in front of Crater Lake. Margaret pointed toward the second row. Noah should be standing here. Carter looked carefully. An empty space separated two students. Everyone else stood shoulder to shoulder. Only one place remained oddly vacant, as if someone had been removed from a photograph, not edited, removed before it had ever been printed. Back at headquarters, Laura scanned the clipping. Modern software revealed faint compression differences around the empty space. Not signs of digital editing, signs of darkroom manipulation. Someone had physically altered the original film before it reached the newspaper. The image hadn't been changed recently. It had been changed in 1998. Someone had deliberately erased Noah from history. At 9:46 p.m., Carter received an unexpected phone call. The voice belonged to retired homicide detective Richard Alvarez. I heard you're asking about Noah Ellison. Carter immediately asked the question that had haunted the investigation. Who is he? There was a long silence. Finally, Alvarez answered, I don't know, but 30 years ago, I asked the same question. Carter's heartbeat quickened. You investigated him? No, I investigated a murder. Another pause, and I found the same photograph you're holding. Carter grabbed a notebook. What happened? They told me to forget it. Who did? Silence. Then, the people who were already afraid of him. Before Carter could ask another question, the line went dead. He tried calling back immediately. The number had already been disconnected. At exactly the same moment, Laura entered the office carrying a newly restored photograph. Nathan, you need to see this. She placed the image on the table. It was the oldest photograph they had recovered so far. Dated October 3rd, 1984. 24 years before Noah supposedly appeared in the school yearbook. And standing near the edge of the frame was the same boy, looking exactly the same. The photograph from 1984 changed everything. Until that moment, investigators had believed Noah Ellison was a missing child whose identity had somehow been erased. Now that theory collapsed. If the date on the photograph was correct, Noah had appeared 24 years before anyone claimed he attended school in Ashland. Forensic specialists immediately tested the original negative. The film stock matched manufacturing records from 1984. The chemical aging was authentic. The paper fibers, silver crystals, and development process all confirmed the same conclusion. The image was real. No manipulation. No forgery. No modern technology. Detective Nathan Carter stared at the photograph for nearly a minute without speaking. Then he quietly asked the only question left. If this picture is genuine, who was standing in that classroom 14 years later? Within hours, the FBI formed a separate task force, not to investigate Noah, to investigate every photograph connected to him. Over the next week, analysts collected more than 14,000 archived crime scene images from police departments across the country. Most contained nothing unusual, but 43 photographs contained the same face. 43, not 42, not 44. Always the same expression, always the same posture, always somewhere near the investigators, never near the victims. That detail suddenly became important. Rebecca Hayes circled every detective visible in the photographs. Then she drew a line connecting each one. For the first time, another pattern emerged. The victims had nothing in common. The crime scenes had nothing in common. But the lead detectives did. Every single one retired early, disappeared, or died under unusual circumstances within 5 years of the investigation. The room fell silent. Noah wasn't following murders. He was following investigations. Detective Richard Alvarez agreed to meet Carter in person. They chose a quiet diner outside Medford. Alvarez arrived 20 minutes early. He never removed his sunglasses, even indoors. "I almost didn't come," he admitted. "They've watched everyone who asked about him." Carter leaned forward. "Who are they?" Alvarez smiled weakly. "That's the problem. I never figured that out." He removed a weathered envelope from his coat. "I've carried this for 30 years. Inside was a photograph. Unlike every previous image, this one wasn't taken at a crime scene. It showed a county fair. Children laughing. Families eating. Nothing unusual, except for one thing. Noah stood beside the Ferris wheel, watching someone. Carter turned the photograph over. Written on the back was a date. August 11th, 1983. Even older. Alvarez noticed Carter's expression. "I found that picture 3 weeks before my partner disappeared." What happened to him? He walked into the evidence room one morning and never walked out. No cameras recorded him leaving. No witnesses saw him. No body was ever found. The waitress approached with coffee. Alvarez immediately stopped talking until she walked away. Then he lowered his voice. "My partner believed Noah was sending a message." "What message?" Alvarez looked directly into Carter's eyes. "That he was trying to stop something." That sentence stayed with Carter during the drive back to Ashland. Everyone had assumed Noah was connected to murders. No one had ever considered the opposite. What if he appeared after the crimes? Because he wanted someone to notice something? Not the victims, not the killers. Something else. Back at headquarters, Carter spread every photograph across the conference table again. This time, he ignored Noah completely. Instead, he examined what Noah was looking at. Every photograph, every angle, every year. His eyes never wandered randomly. He always focused on one person. The lead detective. Not the body. Not the suspect. The detective. Laura watched Carter silently. "You think he's pointing at them?" "I don't know, but I think he's trying to show us where to look." Near midnight, forensic analyst Kevin Moore rushed into the room carrying a stack of personnel files. "I checked every lead detective." "What did you find?" "They all visited the same place." Carter frowned. "What place?" Kevin laid a map on the table. One location had been circled in red. Blackstone Children's Home, an orphanage that had operated outside Eugene until it closed in 1986. Every lead detective connected to Noah's photographs had visited it at least once. Some investigated abuse allegations. Others interviewed witnesses there. A few had searched the property after anonymous tips. But every investigation ended the same way. No charges, no arrests, no explanation. Rebecca slowly whispered, "Maybe the murders were never the story." Carter looked at the map. No, they were only the beginning. At that exact moment, Laura received an email from the FBI laboratory. Subject line, "Positive identification." Everyone crowded around her monitor. The laboratory hadn't identified Noah. They had identified someone else. The little blonde girl from a 1991 photograph. Her name was Grace Holloway. She disappeared 6 days after that photograph was taken. She was never seen again, except in one place. The archive showed a single surviving image taken 1 year earlier. Standing beside Grace at a school picnic was Noah, smiling for the very first time. Grace Holloway's case had been buried for 33 years, not because detectives had failed to investigate, because they had stopped asking questions too soon. Her file contained only 84 pages. Most described routine search efforts, witness interviews, volunteer search maps, weather reports. Nothing unusual, until Detective Nathan Carter reached the final page. Tucked inside the folder was a handwritten note that had never been entered into evidence. There was no signature, no date, only one sentence. The boy wasn't following Grace. Grace was following the boy. The statement made no sense. According to every witness interviewed in 1991, Grace and Noah barely knew each other. They attended different schools, lived in different towns, had no known family connection. Yet the recovered school photograph showed something entirely different. Grace wasn't standing beside Noah by accident. She was looking at him, the same way Noah looked at lead detectives in every crime scene, watching, waiting, expecting something. Rebecca Hayes requested every available photograph of Grace Holloway: school portraits, birthday parties, church gatherings, summer camp. Within hours, more than 400 photographs covered the conference room wall. Laura began arranging them by date. At first, nothing appeared unusual. Then she stopped. "Everyone, you need to see this." She pointed toward 3 photographs taken almost 2 years apart. Grace wore different clothes. Her hair was longer. She had grown several inches taller. Everything changed except the direction of her eyes. In every photograph, Grace was looking at the exact same place, not toward the photographer, not toward her parents, toward someone standing outside the frame. Laura overlaid the images. The angle matched perfectly. Whoever Grace had been watching had always been standing in the same position. Carter immediately revisited the recovered playground photograph Michael Harper had taken 9 days before disappearing. For the first time, he ignored Noah completely. Instead, he calculated Noah's line of sight. The software projected a straight line across the image. The line continued beyond the playground, across the parking lot, and stopped at a public bench nearly 100 feet away. Investigators enlarged the bench. A woman sat reading a newspaper. Beside her, a little girl with blonde hair, approximately 8 years old. Laura checked the date. The photograph had been taken in 2024. Grace Holloway had disappeared in 1991. The child couldn't possibly be Grace, yet she looked almost identical. Facial recognition returned no results. The child had never appeared in any government database. No school records, no driver's license, no passport applications, nothing exactly like Noah. Carter leaned back in his chair. "This isn't about one child." Rebecca nodded. "It's happened before." The FBI expanded the investigation. They searched for unidentified children appearing in public photographs over the last 40 years. The results arrived just after midnight. 9 children, different decades, different states. None officially existed. None could be identified. Yet everyone had been photographed beside an active criminal investigation within months of first appearing. Laura quietly whispered, "They're not random. They're a sequence." The following morning, Carter drove to the abandoned grounds of Blackstone Children's Home. The orphanage had been demolished almost 30 years earlier. Only cracked foundations remained beneath overgrown weeds. County records described the property as empty, forgotten, harmless. Carter wasn't convinced. Ground-penetrating radar soon revealed something unexpected. Beneath the collapsed administration building, a rectangular concrete structure, approximately 60 feet long. No official blueprint mentioned it. Construction records ended above ground. Whatever lay beneath Blackstone had never been documented. Excavation began immediately. By late afternoon, workers uncovered a rusted steel hatch hidden beneath 4 feet of concrete. No lock, no markings, only years of corrosion. The hatch finally opened with a deafening metallic groan. Cold air rushed upward. A staircase disappeared into darkness. Electricity still worked. Someone had been maintaining the underground facility. The tactical team entered first. Flashlights swept across narrow concrete corridors. Dust covered the floor, but something immediately stood out. There were footprints, fresh ones. Someone had walked through the tunnels recently. The footprints led to a reinforced steel door. Inside, rows of filing cabinets stretched across the room. Thousands of folders, every cabinet labeled with a year, and so on. Rebecca opened the first drawer. Each folder contained photographs. Children, hundreds of them. Every photograph had one thing in common. Each child had been circled in red. No explanations, no names, just photographs. At the end of the room stood a single wooden desk. Nothing rested on it except an old cassette recorder. A green indicator light still blinked. Someone had left power running. Carter pressed the play button. A man's voice filled the silent room. Calm, measured, as though he had expected them. If you're hearing this, then you finally found Blackstone. The investigators froze. The recording continued. You believe you're searching for Noah Ellison. A brief pause, but Noah was never the first child. Carter slowly looked around the room. Every folder, every photograph, every year. The voice spoke one final sentence before the tape clicked to an end. You're 38 years too late. The room remained silent long after the recording ended. No one reached for the tape recorder. No one spoke. The only sound came from the low electrical hum echoing through the underground archive. Detective Nathan Carter slowly turned toward the filing cabinets. Thousands of folders. Thousands of children. Someone hadn't built a hidden bunker beneath Blackstone Children's home to store evidence. Someone had built it to preserve history. The wrong history. Rebecca Hayes carefully removed one folder from the cabinet labeled 1984. Inside was a single photograph. A young boy stood outside an elementary school. Red jacket, blue backpack. The back of the photograph contained only one sentence. Observed for 143 days. Nothing else. No explanation. No signature. No case number. The next folder contained another child. Observed for 201 days. Another. Observed for 17 days. Every folder followed the same pattern. A child. A photograph. A number. No names. No reason. Laura Chin opened a cabinet from 1998. Halfway through the drawer, she suddenly froze. Nathan Carter walked over. Laura silently handed him the folder. The photograph showed a familiar face. Noah Ellison. The same expression. The same dark hoodie. But this image was different. It wasn't taken from a distance. It was a formal portrait. Directly beneath it, a typed line read, Subject 17. Below that, another sentence. Observation terminated. The room fell completely silent. Rebecca frowned. Terminated? Does that mean... No. Carter interrupted. It doesn't say the subject died. It says the observation ended. Those weren't the same thing. The forensic team searched every drawer until sunrise. Most folders contained only photographs. Some included newspaper clippings. Others contained hand-drawn maps. Then Kevin Moore discovered something hidden beneath the false bottom of the final cabinet. A leather ledger. Unlike the folders, it contained names. Real names, dates, addresses, and one repeated column. Assigned investigator. Every child had been paired with an investigator. The first entry dated back to 1982. The final entry, October 2024. Carter immediately searched for Michael Harper. There it was. Michael Harper, assigned investigator. Subject 17. Rebecca slowly looked toward Carter. Michael wasn't investigating Noah. He was assigned to him. No one understood what the ledger meant. Michael Harper had never worked in law enforcement. He had been an architect. Why would a hidden archive describe him as an investigator? Laura compared older entries. Teachers, journalists, firefighters, photographers, doctors. None had police backgrounds. Yet all were listed as investigators. The title didn't describe their profession. It described their role. Someone had deliberately selected ordinary people and directed them towards specific children. By midday, FBI headquarters confirmed something disturbing. More than half the adults listed in the ledger had disappeared. The others had died unexpectedly. Heart attacks, traffic accidents, house fires, natural causes. No pattern, except one. Every death occurred shortly after the observation officially ended. Rebecca stared at the board. This wasn't random. No, Carter replied. Someone closed every investigation. Late that afternoon, technicians finished restoring the underground surveillance system. To everyone's surprise, several hard drives still functioned. The newest recording had been made only 11 days earlier. The footage showed Michael Harper entering the archive alone. He carried a flashlight. The timestamp confirmed the date, 9 days before his family vanished. Michael searched the cabinets for nearly 2 hours. Then he stopped in front of subject 17, Noah's folder. He opened it. His expression immediately changed. Fear, confusion, disbelief. Michael looked directly toward one of the security cameras. Then he said 6 words. The cameras recorded no audio, but a forensic lip-reading specialist later translated the sentence. They've been watching the wrong child. Seconds later, Michael grabbed Noah's folder and ran. The video abruptly ended. No sign of what happened next. No indication of where he went. Only static. That evening, investigators searched every inch of the underground archive. Noah's folder was gone. It had never been recovered. Michael Harper had taken it, which meant somewhere there existed one missing file capable of explaining everything. As Carter prepared to leave the bunker, his flashlight passed across the concrete wall beside the exit. Someone had carved words into the surface decades earlier. The letters were almost invisible beneath layers of dust. He brushed the wall clean. The sentence slowly appeared. They were never watching the children. Carter read it twice. Then a third time, something finally clicked. Every theory, every photograph, every assumption collapsed. He slowly turned toward Rebecca. We've been wrong from the very beginning. Rebecca looked at him. What do you mean? Carter's voice was barely above a whisper. They weren't observing the children. They were observing the adults who noticed them. Detective Nathan Carter didn't sleep that night. The sentence carved into the bunker wall replayed in his mind over and over again. They were never watching the children. For nearly 2 weeks, every detective, analyst, and profiler had believed Noah Ellison was the center of a mystery. Now Carter realized something terrifying. Noah had never hidden. He had appeared in public. He had stood inside school photographs. He had walked through parks. He had remained visible for decades. If he wanted to disappear, he had countless opportunities. Instead, he made sure someone always saw him. The question was no longer why Noah appeared. The question was, who was supposed to notice? At FBI headquarters, Laura Chin rebuilt the timeline from the beginning. She removed every murder, every victim, every crime scene. Then she pinned only 3 things onto the investigation board. The children, the adults who noticed them, the dates those adults disappeared. A pattern immediately emerged. Noah never appeared randomly. He appeared shortly before an ordinary person became obsessed with him. Michael Harper, Richard Alvarez, a newspaper editor, a school teacher, a photographer, a detective, different lives, different careers, the same outcome. Each person eventually stopped looking at the original case and started looking at Noah. Within months, every one of them disappeared. Rebecca Hayes folded her arms. We've been asking the wrong question. Carter nodded. We thought Noah was connected to the disappearances. Laura looked up from her laptop. What if Noah doesn't cause them? What if noticing him does? The room fell silent. No one wanted to say the next thought out loud, because if it were true, every investigator inside that room had already noticed him. That afternoon, the FBI obtained satellite imagery covering Blackstone Children's home. The property had officially been abandoned since 1986. No electricity, no water, no legal owner. Yet thermal scans from only 3 weeks earlier showed heat signatures beneath the ground. Someone had still been using the tunnels. The recordings Michael Harper discovered had not been forgotten relics. Someone had maintained them. Someone had replaced damaged wiring. Someone had kept the archive alive, which meant someone knew the FBI had found it. A tactical team returned to Blackstone before sunset. The underground archive was exactly as they had left it, except for one thing. Every filing cabinet stood open. Every folder remained inside. But Noah's empty drawer no longer looked empty. Resting neatly in the center was a sealed white envelope. No fingerprints. No DNA, only Detective Carter's name written across the front. Inside lay a single photograph. No message, no explanation. The image showed Carter leaving FBI headquarters the previous evening. He hadn't noticed anyone following him, yet the photograph had been taken from less than 30 feet away. He turned it over. One sentence had been typed across the back. You looked exactly where he wanted you to. Nobody spoke during the drive back to Ashland. For the first time, Carter wasn't thinking about Noah. He was thinking about Michael Harper. Michael had reached the same conclusion 9 days before vanishing. They'd been watching the wrong child. If Michael understood the truth, then perhaps he had left it somewhere. Not in the bunker. Somewhere investigators hadn't searched. Laura suddenly broke the silence. We never searched his architecture office. Carter looked toward her. The downtown office? She nodded. We searched his house. We searched his computer. But nobody searched the building where he worked. Within minutes, search warrants were approved. Michael Harper's architecture firm occupied the 3rd floor of an old brick building overlooking downtown Ashland. His co-workers described him as quiet, methodical, obsessed with detail. Nothing unusual had happened during his final week, except for one thing. 3 days before disappearing, Michael had emptied every filing cabinet in his office. He shredded years of architectural drawings, project contracts, personal notes, everything except one locked drawer. No one had been able to open it. The locksmith arrived just after 9 p.m. The lock clicked open in seconds. Inside, there were no documents, only a children's coloring book. Rebecca looked confused. That's it. Carter picked it up. The cover showed smiling animals. Nothing unusual, until he opened the first page. Every illustration had been carefully colored, not with crayons, with colored pencils. Each page contained tiny handwritten numbers hidden inside the drawings. Laura immediately recognized them. Their GPS coordinates. The room froze. There were 43 pages, 43 coordinate sets, exactly the same number as the confirmed Noah photographs. Michael hadn't left random drawings. He had left a map, one coordinate, for every appearance. Carter slowly closed the book. Michael hadn't been collecting photographs. He had been tracking locations, and for the first time, the investigation finally had something it had never possessed before, a destination. The first GPS coordinate led investigators deep into the Cascade Mountains, not to an abandoned building, not to an old crime scene, to a small observation deck overlooking Lost Creek Reservoir. There was nothing remarkable about the location. Families stopped there to take photographs. Tourists watched the sunrise. Hikers rested before continuing into the forest. On the surface, it was ordinary. Yet Michael Harper had marked it as the first point in a chain that stretched across 4 decades. Detective Nathan Carter stood silently at the overlook. He didn't search the trees. He didn't search the ground. Instead, he looked where every visitor naturally looked, toward the valley. Then he understood. Every coordinate shared the same characteristic. Each location was designed for one thing: watching. Within 48 hours, FBI teams visited all 43 locations: mountain overlooks, school entrances, public parks, library windows, train platforms, hospital waiting rooms. None were hidden. All overlooked places where large numbers of people gathered. Someone had chosen locations where observation was effortless. Not surveillance, observation. Rebecca unfolded Michael Harper's notebook beside the map. The coordinates formed no pattern until they were connected chronologically. A single line emerged, not toward crime scenes, but toward people. Each location matched the place where someone had first noticed Noah, not where Noah appeared, where someone first truly saw him. Lorichin finally recovered the last deleted file from Michael Harper's laptop. It wasn't a document. It was a video, recorded 2 nights before his disappearance. Michael sat alone inside his office. He looked exhausted. His beard had grown longer. Dark circles surrounded his eyes. For several seconds, he said nothing. Then he looked directly into the camera. "If you're watching this, then I failed." He swallowed hard. For 4 years, I believed I was following a boy. I wasn't. I was following a test. He reached toward the camera and held up one of Noah's photographs. Every person who notices him begins asking questions. Some stop. Some disappear. I finally realized why. Michael closed his eyes. They never cared about Noah. They cared about us. The room remained silent. No one interrupted the recording. Michael continued. They wanted to know which people refused to stop looking, who would ignore simple answers, who would continue searching after everyone else walked away. They weren't selecting children. They were selecting investigators. Michael leaned closer. If you've reached this recording, congratulations. You've already passed. Then, for the first time in the investigation, Michael smiled. A tired, defeated smile. I know where Noah went. Every investigator in the room leaned forward. Michael slowly shook his head. But if I tell you, you'll spend the rest of your life looking for him. And that's exactly what they want. He reached toward the camera. I'm ending this here. The screen turned black. Nobody spoke for nearly a minute. Rebecca finally broke the silence. So Noah was never the destination. Carter nodded. He was the beginning. Weeks later, the FBI officially closed the Harper disappearance as an unresolved missing person investigation. No arrests were made. Blackstone Children's Home was permanently sealed. The underground archive was transferred into federal custody. No public statement ever mentioned Noah Ellison. The recovered photographs were classified. Most detectives who had worked the case requested transfers within the following year. Some retired early. Others refused to discuss the investigation ever again. Only Detective Nathan Carter remained. Not because he still believed he could find Noah, but because one question continued to haunt him. Who had built the system in the first place? That answer never came. 3 months after the investigation ended, Carter received a plain envelope at his home. No return address. No postage. Inside was a single Polaroid. It showed a crowded city park in Boston. Children played on the swings. Parents talked beside picnic tables. Joggers passed in the background. Nothing appeared unusual until Carter noticed a familiar face. Standing near the edge of the frame, a teenage boy in a dark hoodie, hands in his pockets, watching no one, waiting for someone to notice him. Carter looked at the date printed beneath the photograph. It had been taken the day before. He quietly placed the picture back into the envelope. Then he walked to the fireplace. For several long seconds, he stared at the flames. Finally, he dropped the photograph into the fire. He didn't enlarge it. He didn't investigate it. He didn't tell the FBI. He simply watched the image curl into ash. Because after everything Michael Harper had discovered, Carter finally understood the one lesson that had taken 40 years to learn. Some mysteries survive only because people refuse to stop looking. As the last corner of the photograph disappeared into the flames, the phone on Carter's kitchen counter rang. He looked at the caller ID. Unknown number. He let it ring. Once, twice, 3 times. Then the call stopped. A second later, a text message appeared on the screen. It contained only 5 words. You finally learned to look away.